Hello everybody. So today in this video we are going to discuss about planning, which is the first function of management. And this is part 1 of the video. What is the necessity for planning? We all understand that every business has to operate, survive and progress in a highly dynamic economy where change is the rule and way of life. This economy is changing every other day, and despite whether the change is favorable or not favorable for my organization, my business still has to operate, not only operate, but survive and also progress. So what is planning? Planning is selecting mission and objectives and actions to achieve them. We use two words, a mission and a vision, which I will explain a little later. But for now, please understand that mission is a general statement of how the business will achieve the vision. Or in other words, it tells us about the purpose of existence of that business. Objectives are specific, quantifiable, time-sensitive statement of what is going to be achieved and when it will be achieved. So you can see from here that objective is highly quantitative. It is measurable. Only then we will understand that whether we have actually achieved it or not. So planning is selecting mission and objectives and actions to achieve them. It requires decision making. Why decision making? Because we will have a number of alternatives, and from there we'll have to select one. So decision making comes in. Planning bridges the gap from where we are to where we want to go. So if today is 2021 and the company visualizes where it sees itself in another 10 years in 2031, there is a huge gap from where we are and to where we want to go. And planning will help us to bridge this gap. And finally, planning is all pervasive. It means that it is applicable for all types of organizations. It is also applicable for our homes. It is also applicable for us as individuals. Planning contributes to purpose and objectives. Depending on the planning, we have the organization structure, recruitment decisions, leadership styles, controlling measures. And also please understand that planning and controlling, these two functions go hand in hand. Only on the basis of plans you will have the control mechanism set up. If you do not have the plan, you cannot have a control mechanism. And these controlling measures, they act as a check for effectiveness and efficiency of the plan. Let's take an example. Suppose we want to set up a new university, and we will try to understand how our plan will affect these 4 points. Depending on the kind of university we are going to set up, we will have that many departments, and we will have the organization structure prepared accordingly. So therefore, the plan of the new university will have an influence on the type of organization structure that is going to be there. Second, about recruitment decisions. So you have to decide from where you are going to recruit employees. You will have two distinct set of employees. One, those who are into academics, they are referred to as the teaching, and the one who is going to handle the administration, that we will refer to as non-teaching. And so you must have your method of recruitment, and these methods will differ. Then leadership styles. For people who are into research and teaching, you will need a different kind of a leadership style as compared for those who are doing the administration. And controlling measures. It is a little difficult to find out whether your teacher has performed as per the target set or not. Setting a target for the teacher also is not really very easy, and so therefore your controlling measures will have to be designed accordingly. This was an example of an educational institution. If you just have a look at other organizations also, you will find that planning is going to affect all of these 4 things. When we talk of plans, there are many associated words that are used. Vision, mission, objective, strategies, policies, procedures, rules, programs, and budgets. Let's understand them. So again, I am continuing with my example of an educational institution. So this is the vision statement of a hypothetical educational institution. And the vision says it wants to become an internationally recognized institution with a global outlook grounded in Indian ethos. And the mission says to generate and disseminate knowledge for sustainable development and to address societal issues. You can see the difference between the vision and the mission. The vision is a very wide kind of a statement. It is almost like a dream-like, while the mission is a little more specific. So if I continue with that vision and mission, then the objectives would be something like to educate and train manpower for the development of the state of Assam. Strategies, the educational institution will have to find out what kind of strategy it will adopt in terms of teaching, whether it is going to go for online, offline, or blended teaching. Then there will be strategies for pricing of the programs that they are offering. Policies could be recruitment policy, admission policy. So if you want to recruit teachers, maybe your recruitment policy will say that we are going to recruit from all across the world. But for administration, the recruitment policy may say that we will confine ourselves to the national market. Admission policy also, whether you are going to admit students from the country, outside the country. So these are some of the examples of policies. Procedures. Procedures are the way you are going to work. So therefore you can have teaching methodology process, whether you are going to depend solely on videos, or you are going to adopt flipped classroom, or you are going to have face-to-face interactions. Another procedure would be regarding the recruitment process. How exactly are you going to do it? Where are you going to advertise? How are you going to do the interviews? So these are examples of procedures. Then comes rules. So it could be that you have service rules for your employees, maybe hostel rules for your students. And one thing to be kept in mind here is rules are rigid, they are non-negotiable. You cannot bend the rules. But your policy, there is some room for discretion out there. I will take up programs at the last. Let's understand budgets. We are all familiar with the word budget. So we say it is a quantitative expression of the plans, which means that you have to make an assessment of what is the financial involvement with this particular plan that you have adopted. And we will try to see that our expenditures are confined to the budget that we have set up for ourselves. Now let me take up programs. So if you have a major event where you can see all of these things like objectives, strategies, policies, procedures, rules, budgets, involved, and they come as a package, that would be a program. For example, if the university says that in 2 years' time, I am going to train up all my teachers in digital technology. So there is going to be an objective, there is going to be a strategy, policy, procedure, and also rules and budget associated with this. So this will become an example of a program. Having understood about different types of plans, let us now move to the steps in planning. The first one is being aware of opportunities. And this can be done if you do a SWOT analysis of your company. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organization, while opportunities and threats are external to the organization. So when you do a SWOT analysis, you can find for yourself that is there any scope where we can start a new venture, or we can increase our existing business, and that will give you a clue to get started. The next step would be establishing objectives, that is the goals. What is it that we want to achieve? What we want to achieve will depend on the planning premises. So we have to be very, very careful in developing our planning premises. Planning premises are the assumptions that we are making about the environment. And we have to be careful about that, because if the environment changes, all our plans are going to go haywire. Today, in 2021, if I do a environment analysis, all right, I start with the assumption that Corona will be here to stay for another 5 years. And therefore, I will make my plans accordingly. But what if Corona disappears a year from now? My plans are going to go haywire. So planning premises are extremely important. So once our objectives are decided and planning premises are known, we will find out alternative ways as to how we can achieve the objective that we have set up. For example, if I want to offer a new program, I can have different ways of doing that. I can go for classroom teaching, I can go for online teaching. So these are the two alternatives that I have. Or the third one would be I offer it in a blended mode. And from these alternatives, I have to then evaluate. I have to do a cost-benefit analysis and finally select a course of action. Once this course of action is selected, I will have to formulate derivative plans. These are the support plans to fulfill the main plan. And of course, every plan will have a budget. So this budget has to be prepared. So these were the steps in planning. Let's now move to management by objectives, which was given by Peter Drucker. So these are the steps if you want to apply management by objectives. The first is setting preliminary objectives at the top. And these objectives have to be verifiable. Verifiable means it has to be measurable. It has to be quantitative. Once the objective is set, then we need to clarify the organizational roles. In the organization, you have different departments. we will have to see how these different departments are going to contribute towards the objective that has been set. Third step is setting the subordinates objective. And fourth is recycling of objectives. For example, if my company says that I would like to have a turnover of 100 crores in the coming year, then we will check these 100 crores, where are we going to generate this revenue from? Suppose we have 5 products, then we'll have to assess how much of revenue can come in from each of these individually. Then we'll also need to understand that for sales to occur, production has to be there. And for production to happen, raw materials have to be there. Manpower has to be there. Money has to be there. So now can you see that so many departments are going to be involved? And finally, for each person, we are going to give them a target. The production worker will have a target of how much of output he has to create. The salesperson will have a target of how much has to be sold. So these are examples of subordinates objectives. Now these objectives are set for the year, and that is not the end of the story. You must have reviews, quarterly reviews if you want, or monthly reviews if you want, and find out whether these targets are going to be met or not. And sometimes if you find that maybe the targets were unnecessarily high, or it's not going to happen with the existing resources, you will have to find out a way of either redefining the target or giving us support so that the target is met. This review is referred to as recycling objectives. So this MBO, management by objective, it can be used as an appraisal tool. It can be used as a motivational technique and also as a planning and control device. Some of the benefits are that it improves managing. There is clarification of organization roles and structures, encouragement of personal commitment, and development of effective controls. Improvement in managing and encouragement of personal commitment comes because the targets, the individual goals are set jointly. It is the supervisor and the subordinate who sit together and decide on the target. Therefore, the subordinate has some kind of ownership over this target. That is why it leads to improved managing and also personal commitment. There are drawbacks also. It is difficult for people to teach as well as learn about this philosophy of MBO. Sometimes people do not know how to give guidelines to the goal setters, and therefore in turn there is difficulty in setting goals. And we do not have this capability to look into the future, so we emphasize only on short-run goals. And danger of inflexibility will come in if you do not do this recycling of objectives. So with this, we come to the end of part 1, and part 2 of the planning function will follow shortly in the next video. Thank you very much for tuning in.